I will introduce myself. I'm Vanessa McMahon. I'm a writer of various mediums. I've published 3 novels, trying to work on a 4th, but I haven't been able to finish a book since I entered the film industry. I've written a lot of scripts. I have a master's in screenwriting. Yeah, and I'm also a filmmaker. I directed a documentary recently that is taking forever to edit, which was why this inspiration of how to pick projects that are going to really suck your life away. You know, you got to be really, really careful in what you pick. And I'm an entrepreneur. So when I pick something creative, I think about the time it's going to take me to work on this project. You know, a book, a film, anything you do. In hindsight, looking back, would I have picked something differently that I worked on? Yes. There's some things that I would abandon altogether, but you know, we can't turn the clock back. But this is where I believe you have to choose your projects very carefully, right? There's so many fascinating subjects out there tugging at us. So how do we choose which ones to spend our lifetime doing, right? There are the grand projects of our life, the children, the family, the relationships, the job. I don't know about you, but I wasn't born wealthy, so I have to have that day job, right? And all of them should all be considered creatively. Just because we need to pay the bills and we need a family doesn't mean that we shouldn't look at that creatively as well. Everything should be a process and feed our creative projects. Our daily life can feed all of those projects. Be creative to get creative. That's what I like to say. Anthony Bourdain, for example, he was a cook professionally, but he loved writing. And it was his books that made him famous and got him the cooking show. So he was able to marry those two, the day thing, his daily life, into his creativity. Make your life one of a creative work of art. Your life, after all, is your biggest project. Make the macrocosm feed your microcosm. Or live the myth, as Joseph Campbell would say, and one of my favorite people, inspirational people. I was speaking to a lovely woman earlier this afternoon, and she reminded me of Nora Ephron, the great director that I think she's from New York. But she used to say everything is copy. And that's, as a creative person, use everything in your daily life to create. Don't let anything be, I love just daily life. I lived in Brazil for 8 years, and one of my favorite things to do in Rio would be just walk along the beach in Copacabana, and the inspiration I would get, just the jolt of life would just feed my creativity. Just everyday little things could really inspire you. Speaking on that note, I live in the Napa Valley. I run a little winery. How did I fall into wine? That's a long story. But I do pop-up film festivals at my winery. I invite my filmmaker friends to do their events at my winery. I sell my novels at the winery. So try to make everything, fuse everything, use everything. Everything is copy. Even in the day-to-day, approach it like it's a rehearsal of your great masterpiece. Just your daily life, like the woman who was talking about meditating while doing dishes, right? I love podcasts. I love to listen to audiobooks. Thank God for those, because then they make me feel a lot less worried about wasting my time on that mundane stuff. Approach your daily tasks and use it all. Michael Crichton, the great writer who's passed now, he was a doctor, right? And all the things he wrote about were in the ER, in the hospital. He used everything he knew from his medical career towards his books. J.K. Rowling, she used being a mother to inspire her Harry Potter books, right? I don't know if many of you know the writer Robert Kamen. He wrote Karate Kid. He wrote Cobra Kai. Well, he lives in the Napa Valley. He's not far from me. He's in my documentary, and he lives in the vineyards to inspire his writing. He's writing Cobra Kai as he's living in his vineyards, right? And don't choose a person. Many people, myself included, like to make our project our relationship. I don't advise. Don't try to fix someone. Don't try to make another person your project. Do something creative for yourself, an actual project. We're all guilty of that, I believe. And when you're thinking about a subject, back to Maxime, what Maxime was saying earlier, and Ali, being authentic, be yourself. What are your interests? Ask yourself, what lights you up inside? Me, I love wine. I love good wine. There's a difference. Right? Let's say. So before I made my movie about California wine, I realized I can read all the books in the world, but I need to know it, right? So I took a job in wine so that I could learn the inside. I could learn the professional side of it before I would make this movie as some kind of authority in California wine, right? So pick something that you love and immerse yourself in it. I love also Star Wars, and I wrote a book about some young 20-somethings inspired by the creation of Star Wars, and I did a road trip through Tunisia to find the story of Tatooine. I mean, love what you're gonna do and go full throttle. Be obsessed, because it's going to take years, maybe many years of your life, right, with your creative projects. A great wine starts with the best grapes, so pick the best grapes to make your wine. And think about the time you'll spend when you approach something, but double that, or if not, triple it. And ask yourself why. Myself, when I've picked a project, I've always picked intuitively, kind of, this subject really interests me. I want to go out and do this, tell this story, or make this movie. But a great project should have a raison d'être, right? A reason of being. A reason why. But a friend here, Maxime, when I met him, and I told him, I'm a writer, I've written books, he asked me a question that stuck, and I told him, I feel like you're violating me right now in a conversation, because it was just this direct question, and he wouldn't let go like a dog with a bone until I answered it to his satisfaction, and it was very frustrating. He didn't even know my name, and it was 1 hour of conversation of and the question was, what do you want changed in the world? And how can your project make the world better? And obviously I haven't asked those questions before I set out to spend years on my projects. But maybe if I had, might have looked at them differently, maybe saved time. So I thought it was a very wow moment. But most of us do pick things that we're interested in and that we're intuitively, just instinctively grab onto us. But it is important to have an end game and a why. Ask yourself a why. And once you've decided on a subject and you have your medium, your great song, your movie, your book, your wine, your dish, your skyscraper, now what? Where do you start? I use a 5-step process that blends discipline and intuition for execution. Step 1, stick to a routine. This is really important for me. I don't know about you. You can get lost in your project, right? I mean, there's never enough time in the day. You can get, when I'm writing a book, I'm consumed by it. But having a routine is really important. Exercise, I've started doing the horrible thing of cold plunging. It's like self-abuse, but it's amazing, right? Good diet, sleep, I didn't get any last night, so I'm tired. But having a routine and keep your sanity and to keep centered, right? Because you're not going to be productive creatively if you're not centered and you're not able to give your best to it. It helps keep you focused, obviously. Don't get lost in your work. Step 2, have a plan of attack. A building needs a blueprint. Wine needs great grapes. A book needs an outline. Dish needs ingredients. A painting needs a sketch. Song needs lyrics, right? So you need to build your outline. Now, step 3, this is the hardest. This is the uncomfortable part. This is when you're staring at a blank page. You've decided you're going to write your book. You're staring at a blank page. Or before a cold plunge, I'm staring at that freezing cold water. Now I have to dive in. Holy shit, excuse my French. But this is the vomit draft of your book. This is the blending of your grapes. The shooting of your film, the cooking of your dish, right? This is the hardest part, but the necessary part. Now, step 4 is also probably the most important, but the hardest for everyone, and that is finish it. Finish your project. The last mile of a marathon is the longest, right? Or the hardest, as they say. I started a book at 19 and I finished it when I was 32. And honestly, I needed that. When I went to read that first draft and I could read my 19-year-old voice, I needed to keep it because it's what made it authentic. So I ended up finishing it with a voice of someone older looking back, right? And it ended up being what I needed to complete that. So some projects are going to be like that. My documentary, if I would have known it would take me 8 years, I probably wouldn't have gotten on this journey. But finish it. And this is also advice to myself because I'm in the last mile of my marathon for my documentary, and it's terrifying because we can't stop. We have to finish it, but it's terrifying. The journey is the destination, but all journeys come to an end or must come to an end. So finishing it is really tough, right? But no matter how painful, no matter how long, no matter how insecure, you can't have the regrets of never finishing. So finishing it is the hardest, but penultimate step. And step 5, this is interesting. Get it out there, right? This is the afterlife of your project. And this is where most people kind of fall short. It's like, okay, you've made your great art. What do you do with it now? I liken it to, a woman being pregnant, the baby. When the baby's born, that's the life, right? You've got your project done, like now the life begins, right? So it's probably the most important of it all, right? You made your movie, now you got to distribute it. You want the world to see it, and that's a whole life in itself. So it's the distribution of your film, it's the marketing of your book, the wine into the bottle and the person, your public enjoying it, your public drinking it, the art and its show. This is when art becomes myth, right? This is where legends are made. This is where myth is made, right? I mean, Blade Runner. I love this film. It was a total flop when it came out. Now I think it's considered one of the greatest films ever made, right? I went to the Bono premiere in Cannes, and my God, this man, these songs, right? I mean, we can all sing along to them. That's myth, right? That's legend, and it all started with sitting down and writing some lyrics, right? I mean, Shakespeare, Hemingway, think of all your heroes. Everything started with just the idea and sitting down. So your job is to release the work and let time reveal the impact. Birth the baby, drink the wine. So let's pick the project that captures who you are. Pick the art that is your living myth. All creation started with an idea, a whisper, a wonder, and a yes. The New York skyline started with one building. I mean, yesterday I took a boat ride and I saw the whole thing, and it's just awe-inspiring, isn't it? So, there is a Latin term, ars longa, vita brevis. Art is long, life is short. What art will you leave behind? Another reason I love wine. A bottle of fine wine is a time capsule. What will your time capsule be? Our works are living myths. Joseph Campbell, one of my favorite teachers of all time and writers, wrote the book Myths to Live By. When I look at a work, I look for the myth within it. Are you ready to make your myth to live by? Are you ready to devote your life and your blood to your whole creative project?